Welcome to our exploration of groupthink, group psychosis, and mob mentality. These powerful psychological phenomena shape how groups make decisions and interact. Groupthink occurs when the desire for harmony and conformity overrides critical thinking within a group. Members often suppress their own dissenting opinions to maintain group cohesiveness, which can lead to irrational or dysfunctional decisions that no one person would make alone. When we look deeper into groupthink, we find that groups consistently prioritize consensus over the open exchange of different ideas. This creates an environment where critical thinking takes a back seat to agreement. What's particularly concerning is how groups tend to rely on simplified, often inaccurate explanations rather than dealing with complexity. This pattern isn't limited to formal organizations. We see it in families, social groups, and entire cultures, where shared narratives can become so entrenched that they resist any challenge. The harmful effects of groupthink can be far-reaching and severe. Groups often overlook potential problems or risks simply to preserve agreement among members. Those who dare to disagree face intense pressure to conform or stay silent. Two dangerous illusions emerge. The illusion of unanimity, where disagreement is avoided at all costs, and the illusion of morality, where groups develop an unwavering belief in the superiority of their own ideals and decisions. Cognitive distortions play a crucial role in maintaining groupthink. Overgeneralization leads groups to draw broad conclusions from limited evidence. All or nothing thinking creates false dichotomies where nuanced perspectives should exist. Groups frequently discount positive evidence that contradicts their beliefs while engaging in emotional filtering that distorts their perception of reality. These distortions reinforce each other, creating a self-sustaining cycle of flawed reasoning. Within groups affected by groupthink, certain members often take on the role of mind guards, actively working to suppress contrarian viewpoints and protect the group's shared beliefs. These individuals may stereotype and attack those who disagree, creating an atmosphere where self-censorship becomes common due to fear of exclusion. Direct pressure to conform intensifies over time, and gradually, most group members come to genuinely believe in the established narrative, making it increasingly difficult to challenge. The three psychological poisons that affect group dynamics create a complex web of dysfunction. Aggression and fixation on external targets might temporarily create a sense of safety and cohesion, but this comes at a cost. The underlying fear of becoming the next target diminishes true psychological safety, transforming collaborative teams into survival-focused entities. Groups often avoid confronting complex realities, instead projecting their collective self-doubt, guilt, and shame onto convenient targets. Mob mentality represents groupthink at its most extreme, characterized by a process called massification, where individuals lose their unique identity in favor of group sameness. Those targeted by mobs are often from marginalized groups and viewed through stereotypical lenses. They become symbols rather than individuals, representing whatever idea or characteristic the group has chosen to oppose. Charismatic or narcissistic leaders can exploit these dynamics, driving groupthink to dangerous extremes. Fear serves as a powerful silencing mechanism in group dynamics. The threat of bullying, mockery, or exclusion effectively suppresses dissent, leading to a unified opposition against specific individuals, policies, or ideas. This fear-driven silence can sometimes manifest in the opposite direction, with groups focusing on idealizing certain people or concepts, making them immune to criticism or questioning. To reduce groupthink, Organizations must actively encourage criticism and welcome devil's advocate perspectives. It's essential to recognize projective processes at work and challenge them constructively. By asking probing questions and opening up foreclosed narratives, groups can begin to break free from restrictive thinking patterns. Maintaining a healthy skepticism toward consensus helps prevent the automatic acceptance of group decisions. On a practical level, there are several steps we can take to combat groupthink. Learn to disagree with kindness while providing specific examples to support your position. Avoid engaging in gossip and back-channel communications that can undermine group transparency. Regularly ask what perspectives or information might be missing from discussions. Most importantly, maintain your individuality rather than becoming an automaton following group consensus. Looking back at historical perspectives, Gustave Le Bon's 1895 theories on crowd psychology remain remarkably relevant. He identified how individuals in crowds experience a loss of conscious personality, becoming dominated by unconscious impulses. Ideas spread through suggestion and contagion, leading people to act automatically without self-guidance. These observations help us understand the psychological mechanisms behind modern groupthink. The ancient wisdom of the Kalama Sutta offers valuable guidance for developing critical thinking. It advises against accepting ideas solely based on tradition, authority, or hearsay. Instead, we should test ideas through direct experience in our own lives. This approach helps us avoid blind faith and delusion, providing a practical framework for evaluating group beliefs and decisions. When investigating beliefs, it's crucial to explore and validate teachings through careful contemplation. We must examine our habitual thoughts, narratives, and intuitions with an open mind. Understanding that our perspectives are shaped by personal and cultural experiences helps us recognize the subjective nature of our beliefs and allows us to evaluate them more objectively. Personal experiences with groupthink can provide valuable insights into its mechanisms and effects. Whether observed in academic cohorts, professional settings, or social groups, these first-hand encounters help us recognize groupthink patterns in action. By sharing and analyzing these experiences, we can better understand how groupthink develops and ways to prevent it. As we conclude, consider these important questions. What simplistic, unexamined narratives exist in your own groups? What beliefs does your community hold as unquestionably true? These prompts encourage ongoing self-reflection and awareness, helping us remain vigilant against the subtle influence of groupthink in our daily lives.
I think this may be one of the most important topics for any organization, any group of people, any cohort to examine. Groupthink developed from 1972 research, particularly around historical events and in vivo lab experiments into research of group decision-making models where everyone believed one thing that objectively was not true. I pulled up an AI definition to start. The standard definition is GINK is a psychological phenomena that occurs within a group of people where the desire for harmony or conformity in the group results in irrational or dysfunctional decision-making outcomes. Essentially, members of a group suppress dissenting opinions for alternative ideas in favor of maintaining group cohesiveness, even if decisions are not optimal or well considered. My definition would be opting to engage lazily in consensus as opposed to being open to experiencing the ideas of others, a dynamic where there's no critical thinking, just simplified, inaccurate explanations or beliefs, while the term meta-narrative is often used on talking about the larger cultural beliefs. I think this may be personal for everyone. Families develop narratives, social groups develop narratives, organizations develop narratives, workplaces develop narratives. Cognitive or contemplative laziness occurs where the group won't examine what may be missing. I get this commercial on YouTube from Neil deGrasse Tyson that says the challenge is, how do we know enough about a subject to think we're right, but even more about that subject to know that we're wrong? This very summarizes this idea of groupthink. So what are some characteristics of it? There's an illusion of unanimous thinking. I see this in cohorts and in classes where someone will assume similarities. Someone will make a proclamation about the class or a faculty or a book and assume that everyone agrees, as often others do not speak up. Often there's an illusion of consensus and morality. The group believes that their intentions are the highest caliber and they can act as if they are on a spiritual mission for fairness, justice, and disseminating truth. This can include ostracizing another group or a specific person. They can make a quick decision without looking at all the potential consequences. There's this old adage that there's nothing more dangerous than group certainty. Often there needs to be more talking, more examining, more perspectives introduced. But jump to conclusions and often assuming attribution. There is overgeneralization, all or nothing thinking, polarized thinking. The group quickly any alternatives. Exceptions that may challenge this belief or any positive aspects of what may be occurring, whether it's a policy or whether it's a person in some way. In groupthink, there are these mind guards, members of the group who prevent troubling or contrarian points of view from circulating with other group members. So often they will interrupt others. They will quickly respond with disconfirming what that person said. They may try to marginalize. They may even try to mock the other person. Mind guards prevent further discussion or examination. Contrary viewpoints may be met with personal attacks or rationality. People will self-censor. A mob with one perspective can be dangerous and will destroy dissenters. Because there's often an increased sense of safety in the group when everyone agrees, other people or other ideas can be either targeted with the passion of aggression, the fixation of passion. I am clinging to this belief. The group will aggressively destroy dissenters. There is also avoidance or ignorance of other perspectives or potential impacts. A fixation or aggression may distract us from the complex and not wholly satisfying existence of being human beings. First noble truth, the core teaching of the program, and it's something as we work with clients, we're all looking at how do they work with pain? How do groups work with pain? What's constructive? What's not helpful? Do they avoid it? How do groups manage suffering, impermanence, and the three marks of existence? People are trying to find certainty and safety, but it may be dangerous.
Each moment is the choice for individuals or groups to choose to how to proceed. What action should be taken
during such dynamics? Others in the group may wonder if they will be the target of such dynamics in the future. So in group psychotherapy, this idea is modeled in this idea is incohesion versus massification. In incohesion, a group of people aims it to tolerate differences. It feels some distance from one another. In massification, we are all one in some unified bliss state. So when groupthink is happening, there is no individualization. There is no diversity. It's a fantasy of sameness, a fantasy of harmony. A group no longer is a collection of individuals, but a mob united and avoid alternatives often possessed with passion and aggression with no space. There might be a self-assigned leader, egoic in the Buddhist terms. In the West, Kernberg suggests narcissism over a borderline structure, meaning that they need admiration and power, but underneath they are empty. Getting groups to see others as either all good or all bad, unable to see the gray and the complexity and things, or the interconnectedness of everything, lacking empathy and compassion. Oftentimes, leaders of groupthink dynamics are unaware fear-strong projective processes. Something is happening. Q&E, we are bringing past SNTO, and we must try to fix this moment. We might call this a kind of passion to kind of control the narrative or aggression to someone or some idea away. In terms of a team or a cohort, these unfied views may be against another student, a faculty, a specific class, a policy, an administrator, an idea. Groupthink can also have a quality of kind of egoism or grandiosity. Being part of this group, we are someone who's important, who's wise, our ideas are best. We are completely wonderful. I've gone through and taught in many training organizations, and almost in all of these feel they are the best. They have the best training, the best perspective and techniques. All traditions may have a tremendous amount of wisdom. However, in the absolute Buddhist view, these are all just constructed, interdependently constructed.
At this time on uncertainty and fear, and in the process of training towards to be a counselor,
Anxiety may conjecture to some grandiosity or strive for certainty or ground. There is relief. What I do appreciate is the distinctiveness within cohorts of students are attractive to a variety of the different theories, while we are grounded in contemplative psychotherapy and some also like psychoanalysis, cognitive behavioral, mindfulness, internalized family systems, feminist theory, and onwards. Learn from and practice from te approaches that you feel are best. And if possible, avoid the reductionistic imagine that can be promoted. I've learned and grown from each. Embrace the attitude of humility and openness, but also critique every fear. Do the same in this course.